What's up guys, welcome back, hope you're all doing awesome today. And as usual, it's time for more Reddit stories, so sit back and relax, subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's get into it. Estate sale, attempted theft. And for those who don't know what an estate sale is, it's a sort of open house sale, kind of like a garage sale, just to liquidate someone's belongings in a home that's either deceased or moving. So I like going to estate sales when I have some free time. I'm at an estate sale that had other people also shopping, but it wasn't particularly crowded. So a girl about 15 or 16 years old was following me around the various rooms pretty closely, which was a bit weird because the house wasn't that crowded. If I stopped to look at something or pick something up, as soon as I moved a little bit, she would look at or pick up the same item. A little odd, but nothing too strange. So I stopped to pick up a vintage purse, but my own purse kept slipping off my shoulder because the shirt I was wearing had a slick texture. So I took my purse off my shoulder and set it down directly in front of me on a chest of drawers. The girl reaches in front of me, so close she knocked into my arm, and grabs it. I immediately grabbed the strap, but she didn't let go. We then engaged in a slight tug-of-war because, hello, I'm not letting my purse get stolen. The girl's mother, who had been shopping also, but not staying particularly close to either of us, begins loudly stating that her daughter picked up the purse first. And under the rules of the estate sales, that means her daughter gets first dibs on it and for me to let go. I tell her that it's my personal purse, not an item from the estate sale, and I refuse to let go. The woman keeps repeating the rules of the estate sales, like they are royal proclamations, louder and louder. Eventually she's angrily yelling over me. Girl and I are still engaged in a tug-of-war because I'm not letting my purse get stolen. Mom gets loud enough that 2 employees of the estate sale company come in to see what the ruckus is. Mom keeps giving her royal proclamation that her daughter picked up the purse first, and that I'm trying to steal the purse from her. One of the employees starts to politely tell me the etiquette of estate sales. I listen, and then just as politely tell her that the purse isn't an estate sale item, and is my personal purse, filled with my personal items, that I walked into the estate sale with, and I refuse to let the girl steal it from me. The employee asks for both of us to release the purse and let her pick it up. She gets my permission to open it, takes out my wallet, and looks at my driver's license. She tells the mom that purse is mine, not for sale, and hands it to me. The mom gives a huge humph, grabs her daughter's arm, and leaves. No apology or acknowledgement that either she or her daughter were in the wrong. In retrospect, I wonder if the daughter may have had a mental disability, but if she did, it wasn't obvious from my limited interactions with her. I just couldn't believe the mom was so entitled that she didn't even bother to get the facts or investigate after I told her that purse was mine. The estate sale people were really nice about it, and they apologized even though they did nothing wrong. I even got a 25% discount on the items I bought. I'm an anti-feminist. I work at a franchised hotel in a college town, so we always get people trying to check in to tour the school all the time. We are constantly sold out whenever the college hosts tours. One faithful sold-out night, a mother of a college student comes to try to check in, and it goes something like this. The mom says, "Hi, just here to check in," visibly already upset by something. And I say, "Yes, what's the last name?" "Doe." She shoves her ID in my face. Also, her last name wasn't really Doe. And I say, I'm not seeing a Doe. Do you have a confirmation number by chance?" "No, I'm there. You didn't check well enough." "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I'm still not seeing a Doe, unless it's under a different last name. If you could provide me with a confirmation number, I can definitely pull up your reservation." "No, you're not listening. Doe. D-O-E. Basically yelling at this point. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but unless you provide me with a confirmation number, I'm not seeing a reservation under Doe for this evening." She sighs loudly and says, "It's probably under my husband's last name. Try Smith." Not his last name, but it was still a very common name. And I say, "Smith, there it is." At this point, I pull up the reservation, but there isn't a Doe attached as a guest to the reservation. There are also no indications in previous shift notes or the reservation comments that Doe would be arriving before Smith, so I proceed with normal procedures. I say, "If this is for your husband Smith, then he will have to check in, since I'm not seeing you attached as a guest." "What? I'm attached? You guys are insane. I have to meet my daughter here in 10 minutes, and you won't check me in?" "Well, you're not attached, and for security purposes, I can't just check someone into a reservation with a different last name. unless your husband comes to the desk or you make another reservation with us under your name. The mom is beet red at this point. If she were a cartoon, she'd have steam blowing out of her ears. This is when she screams, "What? So a woman can't check into a hotel without her husband? Do you assume every effing woman takes her husband's last name? Are you some woman-hating anti-feminist? Blah blah blah." For context, I'm a college girl myself, probably the same age as her aforementioned daughter. The mom proceeded to yell at me for legit 5 whole minutes, lecturing me on the concept of feminism, and how I should be ashamed for not being a girl's girl. I held my ground, saying I can always make her a new reservation and cancel the other if Smith called. I also offered to switch the names on the reservation if I called Smith's number on file. Nope, Mom was having none of it. She eventually left the hotel and never returned. Smith eventually showed, with his wife, not Doe, and kids. And a commenter asked, "Did you tell him about Doe? What did he say?" NOP said, "I figured when he came in with his real family that I shouldn't have mentioned his, quote, wife, Doe. Looking back, I wished I hinted at something to get more of the insider scope, just don't know how I'd do that in front of his actual wife." So on one hand, it could possibly be the guy's affair partner or something, but it also actually seems pretty likely that this woman didn't actually know these people at all. She could have just been attempting fraud to try to get a free room, based on the fact that she showed up trying to check in with a common last name, and when it didn't come up with anything, she gives another common name saying it's her, quote, husband. That seems like it's probably the most likely scenario. What do you guys think? Lady comes into ER, claims assault, gets arrested. I want to start off by saying that I work in a hospital, so due to this and HIPAA, I will be altering the names of all the characters in our little play. With that being said, I happen to work security for a hospital in the town I live in. We are contracted out by our employer to the local hospitals. Usually we have 3 shifts, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., and my shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. the next day. During my shift, usually we have homeless individuals come in, saying they are hurt, but in reality, they just want some sleep in the rooms. This is actually alright, except because of COVID, the nursing staff is not having it. This is not as important because our main player, Karen the Old Hag, or KOH, always comes in on the ambulance. Basically, whenever she comes in, she stays for about 3 hours, gets discharged, and then sits in the waiting room. We are always called to escort her off, and it always ends up with the cops being called on her. She always has the same excuse. "I can't walk, I do not have kneecaps. You try walking without kneecaps." To be fair to Karen, she does walk with a cane. However, we always remind her that she did just walk from her bed to the waiting room, and that nursing staff was walking with you to make sure you do not fall. Whenever she feels like she is going to lose her battle, she will throw her cane at anyone close to her, and throw herself on the ground. Mind you, this lady is like 87 years old, and she acts more like a child than my 3-year-old niece. During the night, we had a hold for a patient that was prone to hurting themselves. We just sit outside the room to make sure they do not either hurt themselves or make a run for it. It's policy that involuntary holds cannot leave until our mental health finds them a bed anywhere. We always alternate every 2 hours to make sure none of us get burned out. Plus, we have these things called posts, where we are supposed to be for 2 hours anyways. Karen came in on the ambulance as per her usual. Mind you, it is raining heavily, so when the ambulance picked her up, she was soaked from head to toe. According to the nurses, she was also very drunk. Karen plus alcohol equals 1000% Krabby Pants Ultra Godzilla. Once she gets into her room, Glenda the good nurse, might as well go all out here, walks in and gets vitals and asks what happened. The ER tech, Bob the builder, starts to get her the scrubs you get issued to change into. Karen throws a fit. She yells at the nurses because Bob the builder is male, and she claims that earlier that night she was assaulted, so she does not want any male persons near her. Understandable. They oblige. Only problem is, now she is falling back on her "I have no kneecaps," so she does not have to wear her scrubs. Great. Let's just stay naked and let the entire ER see you, lady. Midway through our shift, our newer officer called over the radio for us to come into the ER for a disruptive patient. We had no idea that Karen was in the hospital until me and old guy walked back there. We walked to the monitor tech, who has been working in healthcare for like 60 years, Mrs. Nancy. Looks at us with the "I'm gonna kill someone, you all better stop me" look. Old guy says, "What is going on, Mrs. Nancy?" And then we heard it. "I am not putting on my clothes because I can't. I can't bend my knees." "Karen, you have to put your clothes on." "No, are you going to put it on me? I do not want you touching me." Old guy and I just looked at each other and rolled our eyes and sighed heavily. He went to talk to her and I stayed outside the room providing cover. I talked to the nurses and found out what had happened. I thought nothing of it, so I waited until old guy was done talking to her. Once he was done, Mrs. Nancy wanted us to walk around the ER every 30 minutes or so. Shift is almost over and it is now my turn to sit on the hold. I'm about 3 beds down, when she starts screaming and hollering once she got the discharge paperwork. This is basically the ER stating, "We have done everything and diagnosed, and we recommend that you are stable enough to go home." Well, Karen was not having any of this. I get on the radio and call for the rest of the officers to come back to the ER. They walk up to me, ask what is going on, and all I do is point to the room she is in and say, "Might need to handle that." Sure enough, she decided she was not leaving, and threw her cane at Glenda the good nurse. Because this happened, policy dictates that when a patient strikes a staff member, local law enforcement is called. Not a minute goes by and 4 squad cars pull up, lights and sirens blaring. This was funny to me because they just casually walk in, like, "Hey guys, heard y'all needed us." Once they heard her screaming, Officer Bigby looks at the staff and just asks, "Is that Karen?" "Yep." "You gotta be kidding me." He proceeds to rip open the curtain and at the top of his lungs says, "Karen, get the heck out before you go to jail." Karen is not budging. She argues back and forth with the officer about how she was assaulted, how she cannot walk, how she cannot bend her knees, how she cannot get her pants on. They even gave her the option to put the gown on. Officer Bigby, by the way, nonchalantly states, "Karen, I saw you walking not 6 hours ago. Why are you like this?" Karen says, "You are a damn liar." Fun fact, you can call the cops a lot of different things. I know because I used to be a deputy in the other K state. We can take it in stride. But you do not call us liars and think you are about to win an argument. So you are telling me that my body camera, the dash cam, and the rear dash of my patrol vehicle are lying? No, that is not what I am saying. I am saying you are a liar. She was told that she has been discharged, and if she refused to leave, she would be charged with trespassing and disorderly conduct. It took all of 30 seconds for all 4 officers to go into that room and handcuff her, and place that gown on her body for transport. They threw all her belongings into bags and she was escorted outside. Old guy came and relieved me from my post, and as I walked by the ambulance entrance doors, I could see the cops laughing and talking about their next post, while she was in the back of the squad car with her head down, mouthing to herself. Honestly, as many times as we have to deal with her, it is nice when she leaves. It gets really silent at night, and that is the way we like it. Found out later the next shift she was going to be released in 48 hours, but they are working on a warrant for repeated trespassing and harassment of hospital employees. And that is all for today, guys. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Be sure to drop a like if you enjoyed and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Have an awesome day, friends, and I'll see you next time.